I remember I had a spreadsheet where I had forecasted sales like before we'd started advertising. I was like, yeah, if I do one or two a week, I'll be happy. You know, make 200-300 quid a week. I mean, we're doing that easily in a day.
The aim of this podcast is all about making real freedom happen, and this episode is a perfect testament to that. We've got a story lined up to share with you today that I really can't wait for you to hear. It's all about Jared, who went from having no entrepreneurial experience to making almost £4 million in sales in just a few years. So if you've ever wondered what a dropshipping journey could look like for you, then this is the perfect episode.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one today. I remember the first interview that I had with Jared about 3 years ago now, where I went over to see him in person, and we sat down and we had a chat, and we highlighted the kind of initial early success that he'd had coming into the program. I think he was only 6 months into the Dropship Unlocked Masterclass program at that point, and he'd just surpassed £310,000 in sales with his single store that he had at the time. So incredible start to the journey, and we documented that and took a video, and it's been a really highly requested topic for us to bring him back and see where he's at now. So we got in touch with Jared, and today's episode is going to be a conversation with him where we'll go through the monumental growth that Jared's experienced over the years since we last caught up, taking his business to nearly £4 million in sales since our first conversation. So he's made an incredible start to the business and then maintained that as well. And I think just something to highlight before we dive into it, Jared's story is a testament to the power of what happens when our members follow the masterclass program and take consistent action, which then they see compound over time. You know, something people might say, oh, Jared's special. He has something that other people don't. Really, it's a case of he followed it to the T. And he'll say it himself. You listen to the conversation in this episode, he took the steps, he revisited the program. He's still active in our community today, right? He still comes back and helps out and talks and shares his view on things. So in this talk that we had with Jared, we dived into how to break into entrepreneurship, how to overcome that limiting belief that maybe you aren't cut out yet for entrepreneurship, the mindset that's required. And then also we found out from behind the scenes what it's like with a run rate of £1 million per year with your e-commerce business after starting without any prior entrepreneurial experience. So that's what Jared's done, got his business to £1 million per year now, or just under, I think, but we'll be there very soon, I'm sure. And yeah, there'll be some other stories as well during our conversation with him of what it's like day to day for a Dropship Unlocked Masterclass member who's followed the program to a T and now has a thriving multi-million pound business that he can run from anywhere on the planet.
Yeah, and it's inspirational to listen to. I remember I listened to his first interview before I joined the Dropship Unlocked Masterclass, and listening to that was so inspirational. It was one of the main reasons why I joined up in the first place. So hopefully now this catch-up interview that we've done with him will also inspire many others to follow their entrepreneurial dreams as well. He shared with us some insights on how he got to achieve that success, and we delved into the mindset that has been the foundation for him over the last few years to achieve the incredible success that he's had.
Yeah, there's so much in this conversation. It's going to be a good one. And I believe that it will help you if you're trying right now to visualize your roadmap to success with e-commerce, then you're going to get a lot from this conversation. So with that in mind, sit back, enjoy this episode where we caught up with Jared. So Jared, it's been a while since we last properly sat down and talked. I think it's about 3 years now since that initial video was filmed where I came over to your kind of warehouse space that you were hiring at the time, and we talked a little bit about your results. So let's kind of rewind again to your beginnings, if we can, before you started dropshipping, before you joined the Dropship Unlocked Masterclass. What feelings and desires were stirring in you that led you down this path and into this rabbit hole initially?
I think I've always been a bit entrepreneurial. I remember even like selling sweets and stuff at school. It's always had that urge to kind of do my own thing. Once you go to school, go to university, the natural route for that is to get a job and, get a mortgage, which went through all of that. And I just remember sitting at my job I had and just looking around all these 50-year-olds and just thinking, it's just not me, this. I can't really see myself here in sort of 30 years time, 20, 30 years time doing that. And that's when I just made the leap. I thought, I want to do my own thing. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I jumped out of that, handed my notice in, jumped out of that role and just ended up doing some freelance stuff because my background was digital marketing. And then came around, I think it was a video of yours, and the rest is history, really.
Rest is history, yeah. It's interesting to hear that you had that kind of entrepreneurial flair at school, like you said, selling sweets and looking for that. Do you think that that was like a deeper rooted desire to want to have that level of autonomy, but you were just looking for a way to channel it at that point?
I think so, yeah. I think I've always had that in me. It was just a way of trying out at least. Otherwise, you'd always have those regrets, I guess. The one image in my head was just sitting one day at work, and all these 50-year-old older men, they were just there, and I was just like, I mean, it's absolutely fine for people to want that and want that sort of 30-year career in a specific industry, but just wasn't for me. And I just wanted to get out there and try and do my own thing, be my own boss, and that's what stemmed it, really.
Yes, you're definitely preaching to the choir there in terms of thinking about looking ahead of you in the career path and not wanting to follow that path. Was it then just a timing sort of coincidence that it was at the same time that you knew you had that craving for an entrepreneurial journey that you came across Dropship Unlocked around the same sort of time?
Yeah, well, it was actually afterwards. I probably did the wrong way around and just went, I'll just hand my notice in and figure it out afterwards. I probably should have had a bit more of a plan. But yeah, it was during that phase when I was just doing freelance work. I'd saved up a bit of money, so I was just ticking along. I think I handed my notice in February. I left work in February, and it was March or April, I think, when I signed up with the course. And it was just one of those days when in the mornings you're thinking, what am I going to do now? That I bumped across a YouTube video, and then somehow found Lewis, and then that took over, I guess.
Yeah, we had a chat, but it's interesting to hear the route. I mean, you kind of lit the fire, didn't you, by, like you say, quitting your job before you'd found something to do. But I guess going into the world of freelancing is an interesting move because it's almost like that intermediary step before entrepreneurship, isn't it? Like you no longer have a boss, but now you have clients, and now you're trading your time for money, and there's like a cap on the scalability of that. So I guess, can you talk a little bit about like maybe some of the challenges even whilst you were freelancing that made you still want to seek something different?
So my background was always in digital marketing, and it was just a extra way of making a bit of money on the side, I guess. But you're right. I mean, it's completely, there is a ceiling to that, how much you can do in a week, in a month. So it is capped. But I guess, I mean, going back to quitting the job without having anything firmly in place, it meant that to make sure that I had some form of income in the next couple of months, right? So it kind of put a rock up my backside to action things and get things done, really. So in hindsight, I say it's silly, but as you're right, it was probably a blessing in disguise that I did that way around.
I think so. Yeah. Sometimes that's the way you need to do it. So reflecting on that moment after 6 months when we met back 3 years ago, and you'd made £310,000 in sales within your first 6 months of joining the program. I remember it vividly. Can you describe what emotions and thoughts were swirling around your mind at that time? Like, what did achieving that early level of success feel like for you personally?
Yeah, it was crazy. It just exploded just because there was such a large demand for the products we're selling. So, I mean, the volume you're doing, I was just processing orders all day long. It was mental. So, at the time, 6 months in after doing 310K, it was, it was great. And I remember I had a spreadsheet where I had forecasted sales like before we'd started advertising. I was like, if I do one or two a week, I'll be happy. Make 200-300 quid a week. I mean, we're doing that easily in a day at that stage. So it was bonkers.
I think a lot of people feared that when the whole world shut down in 2020, that it was going to be like the end of business. But what actually happened was it forced the world of customers that maybe hadn't yet adopted buying things online to suddenly have no option but to, right? I remember we were all buying stuff online. So suddenly it became like, I think, a catalyst to the e-commerce world. And so it had, like you said, the complete opposite effect. And actually we saw business absolutely boom, which was crazy. So since our first chat then, since we did sit down 3 years ago and had that conversation, which is recorded and we'll link below this episode of the podcast so that anyone who hasn't seen that can go back and watch it if you'd like to. What results specifically have you been able to go on to achieve since then?
Since then, we've just shy of £4 million on that store. So, we've done okay. We've managed to scale it. And as I said, there's been ups and downs. But yeah, overall, I'm really pleased with the progress that we've done. And I'm a little bit annoyed we probably won't hit the £4 million mark this year.
Incredible progress. I mean, you're pretty much tracking for 1 million every year since you started the program, which is just awesome progress. But obviously the numbers are one thing on the sheet. But how does that have an impact on your life when you're reaching those sales numbers?
In terms of my personal life, I mean, it's been great. I mean, as you say, we try and forecast yearly sales. So, we did 1.2 last year. And yeah, I mean, obviously, in terms of how it's impacted my life, we've managed to move out to a slightly larger house than we had in London, which has been nice. It's created an income for me that we live on comfortably, which is excellent. So yeah, no, it's really impacted my day-to-day life pretty well.
And comparing the recent wins, that's incredible, like tracking at 1 million per year, on average, and hitting that £4 million mark soon. I think you're massively underselling yourself, Jared, when you say, yeah, we've done all right. That's the kind of modesty that I'd expect from you. But no, congratulations, that's a fantastic achievement.